Hello, welcome back to the Shure AD-PSM video here with us at Patchwork London. Hello once again, welcome back to episode 4. It's a little bonus episode here we've got for everyone. It's questions from the Helical. It's a new format just dropped. So we're going to pull some questions out of the Helical, ask them just about AD-PSM, some bits. Questions have come from an unknown source, so we'll have to see what happens.
These are like FAQs that you've had as
FAQs,
Patchwork,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay,
We're obviously a rental house. We've deployed this a lot. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the presets and topologies. We genuinely, every time we put this out, we think about what's best for this scenario. Do we want to put a combiner in? Okay, maybe it's just 4 channels. Let's just do internally combined, stick on antenna. We've got the Q, Omni. That's going to be one of them that doesn't go into the combiner. Things like that. Just different ways of deploying it. There's different ways, but let's dive into it, shall we?
Go on then. Reach into the Helical.
Reach into the Helical. What's the latency on AD-PSM?
Less than 2.9 milliseconds is what we publish. If you clock the latest latency, it's around about 2.8 somewhere.
Yeah.
The goal of the whole of an Axient digital ecosystem should be that between an Axient digital handheld microphone or body pack transmitter and an ADXR body pack receiver, we should not exceed more than 5 milliseconds of latency.
Yeah, and that's on digital, right?
That's on digital.
But analog is 1.2.
Mode comes down, so we're where we were with PSM 1000 P10R plus pack. So what's that? 1.2 milliseconds.
Yeah, which is impressive. I mean, latency is obviously a thing. Monitor engineers, especially because you've got your artists, are thinking so much about it. I guess the thing is, add it all together. Like, how does your artist feel about it? Like, was it below 10 milliseconds isn't noticeable, or 15 milliseconds isn't noticeable? I mean, we've got a system out today which is outboard plugins. Obviously, you've got the console it goes through, wireless mic, and then it's still less than 10 milliseconds with kind of all those things in the system anyway. If you're adding more, then I guess it's going to go up, aggregate.
It's so interesting. The whole question of latency has we've been talking about latency for probably 10 years before anyone really had a like digital IM systems. Latency has been something that people talk about. And, you know, you're right, the plug-in consideration is where it becomes most interesting because you can scale your latency very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think what will be interesting for viewers of this video, having looked after this system in the market since it launched, we've had it on digital modes on loads of shows, and latency has really not come up that much, if at all. I
find it's more of a thing where people get too scared of the numbers. They sort of go, oh, it's going to be too much for the artists, but then they pick it up and they're like, it's totally fine. It's like people that run auto-tune to their artists, or like, you know, we're moving into sort of de-feedbacky, plug-in-y world where the latency is huge in it. But I mean, technology is changing. There's lots of outboard plug-in things that are dropping the latency. Yeah, it's moving in that direction.
You know, I also don't want to like undersell the concern. Like certain artists really do worry about this stuff. You know, there are artists who are very educated to what's happening in their system. They understand what the concept of latency is. And I guess if you're an engineer for an artist like that, you know, you have to be able to answer these questions and give the figures and all that kind of stuff. We have the analog mode in there partly for this reason. If there are artists that are really concerned about it, you have a fallback option with Single Carrier Narrowband. That is just a switch. You don't have to rewire anything. You can just run 4 channels in analog if that's what you want to do. The advantages of digital are worth considering. Like you said in the first video, true stereo, infinite noise floor. We don't have to mix into a compander. So this is the trade-off that you're going to be looking at as a user. What do I want to do? Am I happy to be mixing into a compander at a lower latency, or do the benefits of digital outweigh some of those latency concerns? One other thing worth mentioning, we didn't do too much testing on this, but some anecdotal evidence has hit us that if you're running the system with Clang, your latency budget actually increases quite exponentially, because obviously Clang is using latency to place objects in space.
Well, there's things about latency where, depending on how it's kind of, like you can flip the phase on things, and like at which point the latency is at is which frequency kind of gets promoted or lessened. And so depending on like bone structure and how your ears are shaped and what your head shape is like and things like that can be like, okay, well, if you hit this latency, there's actually a weird sweet spot. It's such a bizarre kind of thing, but it's definitely worth being mindful. But
I'm going to make a prediction though. Having been around when we did the kind of swap from analog to digital microphones and having a lot of similar conversations back then, I'm going to make a prediction today with Patchwork on questions from the Helical that in 10 years, everyone's just going to be running digital systems and it's going to be fine.
Oh, totally.
I think this is where it's
looking at spectrum and availability and just where the kind of world's going towards, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's new technology, but once you're kind of like, okay, I know what it does, I know how it all connects together. I've done a couple of shows in it and I love it. I mean, we've tested it across big shows and a variety of shows. And it's just solid, once you kind of know what you're doing and what you're playing with.
Cool. Right, should we get another question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Weirdly feels like Christmas for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, the sun's out. It can't be that Christmassy. Can I use any of my existing RF equipment?
Yes, you can. So the analog mode in AD-PSM was developed in part to support pre-existing PSM 1000 systems that are in the market. So take a company like Patchwork, for example. If you're a manufacturer like Shure, you look at Patchwork and the investment that you've made in PSM 1000.
We've got hundreds of belt packs.
Lots of infrastructure. It felt wrong for us as a manufacturer to say, hey, that is now obsolete. There's a new thing in town. You're going to have to sell all your PSM 1000 and buy a load of AD-PSM kit. So we opted to support PSM 1000 in the market. It reinforces and protects the price of PSM 1000 in the market. So your investment as a rental company, it makes sure that you can still rent that equipment. It has value, but also means that you're off-ramp to digital systems. And look, Patchwork is one example. There are other rental companies that also have very high channel counts. They need lots of time in order to transition to a new system. So it is a much nicer off-ramp, and it gives people the option to use, legacy P10R Plus packs with the new transmitters. You can use the old transmitter with the new ADXR pack. One thing that I will say at this stage, if you're using analog FM in AD-PSM from end to end, so ADT, ADXR, the audio experience is so different to PSM 1000. Like I said in the previous video, it really was a whole redesign of how analog RF and how analog FM in particular functions and how you get audio over the air.
We've noticed that. We've done shows where it's in analog and the engineers are going, wow, this sounds awesome. And it's still analog. Combiner, old combiners work as well with analog mode.
Old combiners do work with analog mode, yes.
Obviously, the antennas still work. Same antennas across everything, still BNC. A lot of the old infrastructure still works. One thing I'll say is make sure you keep your firmware up to date, because there's been lots of really useful firmware updates over the last sort of year when this product's been out, to do with quality and bits and bobs.
Shure's a brand that is constantly adding new features. I will, recognize that firmware updates, specifically for AD-PSM, they can be difficult because the ADXR update takes a while. You're kind of hanging out in front of the IR port there for quite a long time.
What we do is we get a warehouse tech who's maybe been late for the day, and we're like, your job is to stand. No, we get clamps, and we have a little. I call it Parker's. What did I call it? Parker's firmware farm, and I'll have a bunch of clamps doing the packs at the same time.
This does not surprise me at all. I will say that in the latest firmware that we have, we are introducing a new method of doing firmware updates, which we are calling sequential firmware update over ShowLink. Right? There's no acronym.
There has to be. Then you've got to be like, you don't know what that means.
Sequential firmware update over ShowLink, right? So what this means that you can do, off of 180 610 access point, that thing there, you'll be able to queue 24 ADXR packs. And you go into the unit, the transmitter, you say, I want to do a receiver firmware update. I want to do it over ShowLink. It will look at the network. It will identify all the packs in your network. And then you can push that update to those packs over ShowLink, and it will sequentially update one after the other.
Yeah, really cool.
So you don't have to build like a Chris Parker jig in order to kind of make it all happen.
Excuse me, it's not Chris Parker jig, it's Parker's firmware factory.
Sorry,
firmware farm.
Firmware farm, yes.
Yeah, wow. Really cool. I mean, we touched on ShowLink a bit in the first episode, but I think it can't be overstated how simple it is to use. Just plug and go, PoE, powered by the Cat5 on the back, and it just plug it in, sync your packs as you normally would once, and then for the rest of it, you can just do it from a laptop, all the kind of coordination, firing it out. Yeah, it's great. Right, next question.
Let's go. How many have we got left?
Two left.
Okay, 2 questions left. Let's go.
Okay. What can you tell me about gain structure?
This is a question that comes up a lot, and I think that you at Patchwork have done some work on this as well.
Well, so often when people use it for the first time, they call us up and say, hey, what should I have my gain at on the input side of things here to match how I have my PSM 1000 unit? So factory reset at PSM 1000 is minus 16 dB is the input. And, I've played around with it when we're talking about noise floor and being like, well, maybe we want to cook it up a little bit so they can have their packs lower, so they've got less noise floor, things like that. But what we found is gaining these up to 0 dB in your analog mode will be close to minus 16 on PSM 1000s historically. Worth touching, that's with analog inputs, but also when you go to digital, so you go in AES or Dante, that's DBFS. So theoretically can't clip. Talking about where we want to hit on the numbers on the green, amber, red on the front, pushing it's good. I think you want to give it a healthy signal to kind of chomp on.
Yeah. To speak a little bit further about where this question comes from, people who've used PSM 1000 for a long time will have been told and will remember that there was a point where we were saying you don't want to be going too far into the yellow. You want to be nice in the green and peaking into the yellow. We kind of defeated that when we brought P10R Plus packs to the market. A lot of that kind of squishing that would take place if you were overdriving the system was mainly due to the receiver pack. So kind of old-fashioned P10R would distort quickly, whereas the new P10R Plus with its FPGA circuit, you could drive PSM 1000 harder in order to kind of get more audio over the air. But regardless, there's a lot of information out about how you gain structure PSM 1000. This is a whole new system. The way that we deal with audio in it is completely new. As I've said before, even in the analog mode, it's like an end-to-end reproduction. And as you said, Chris, if you're coming in AES or you're coming in Dante, the meter at the front is showing you 0 dB FS. You can push it as hard as you like, because in theory, you can't clip the digital element of what 0 dB FS is showing you. So you can push it really, really hard. Likewise, on the analog inputs, I spoke to somebody who was involved in the analog design, and he was like, you could plug the XLR cable into the socket in the wall, right, into the main socket, and you won't overload it, right? There's tons and tons of headroom in terms of the analog input on this side. So again, I think it's where are we going to be in 5 to 10 years' time? I think this is an issue now, but as people get more used to driving these systems, what they're going to find is you've got way more dynamic range available to you, even in the analog mode. And it becomes less about, hey, what am I metering? And more about, am I getting the volume that I want to get to my artist and to my ears? And yeah, the pack settings, the gain trim and pack settings is also quite important as well to consider for this one.
Yeah, so when you factory reset a pack, when you first get it, the gain will read on it. If I open it up, it would say 20 dB. So by default, it's at its highest. So 20 dB is the max. So it's already at the top. And if you can only drop it from that point. So a bit like, so it's not like P10Rs where you turn up the gain. We've got a high gain and regular to kind of match P10R pluses. It's just always in at the hottest. And then you can turn that down if you want kind of more increments on your encoder that you're turning things. That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
just before we move on, I do not recommend plugging the XLR input into a 30 amp output on your wall. Please don't do that. You will not overload the audio path, but you could well cause damage to some other part of the system. And if you do that, you will invalidate the warranty on the unit. So this is not recommended by Shure or Patchwork.
Or Patchwork, thank you. All right. Final question. Are you ready, Jack?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I have heard drummers have problems with AD-PSM. What's that all about?
Okay, so watch video 2 of this series for the long version of this explanation. The short version is when we launched the system, we were using something called OFDM for all of our digital modes. We are now only using OFDM for the wideband mode. There is a narrowband option still available, but the one that you want to use is the new Single Carrier Narrowband. OFDM subdivides our carrier into orthogonally separated sub-channels, right? And that's fantastic for spectral efficiency, but it is quite sensitive to scraping metal objects on the stage.
Yeah, which would include your hi-hat. So hi-hat claps together rhythmically, and that metal scraping against each other changes the impedance, kicks out a bunch of electromagnetic interference, kind of warps the analog carrier that's changing the amplitude modulation that carries the zeros and ones in the air, knocks it out, you get error, packet losses, error correction, kind of can't keep up. Pack drops out a little bit.
This issue is quite well documented in the industry now. A lot of people have kind of seen it, experienced it. A lot of people have found ways around it as well. Like, this wasn't every show that experienced this. There's a number of things that have to come together to make it happen. But Single Carrier Narrowband is your drummer-friendly mode. And this is the one where you can put your antenna where you like, send everything out on the same kind of operational preset, run it to your drummer, run it to your percussionist. If you do want to use wideband for your drummer, I'm not saying that's not possible, right? Shure is not saying that that isn't something that can be made to work. You want to get line of sight from the antenna to the ADXR pack on the drummer. You don't want to be running it through the hi-hat cymbals. And yeah, it takes a little bit more time maybe in prep, in rehearsal to find the optimal position for things, but it can be made to work really, really well.
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it like really successfully. We've had some really good examples of it. It's just knowing what to do. I guess the thing is, once you get out of the box, it's like, here's the default firmware. So if you don't know these things, I mean, single carrier is going to take over as a new kind of, I'm hoping we'll have to see. I mean, it's come out. I mean, by the time we're recording this, it hasn't actually quite come out yet.
No, it's still in beta right now, but it's going to be out soon.
By the time this video is out, it's out. It's very exciting. It's great.
I think that it will be a very, very popular operational mode.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the beta testing you've done, it's been used across the whole show. You build it very similar to PSM 1000. So yeah.
It's just a great compromise, like going from, needing 2 antennas in spatial diversity. Sure, that's super spectrally efficient, and there's times and places where that's going to be like, this is going to solve a lot of our problems. But for a lot of cases, kind of keeping to the one antenna is just practical. One antenna, all digital, a nice compromise to spectral efficiency. So we said analog has 11 frequencies you can stick in one TV channel. Wideband is 40, so it's huge, but you do have a bit of E of M to kind of play with and just make sure you're setting it up right. But then the single carrier is 23, so it's kind of more than double analog, and it's flexible. You can kind of move those frequencies around where you want. Great for coordination, great for the future, hopefully.
And you can use all of those in one system at the same time, right? We're not saying you've got to use all of one thing. It can be absolutely everything.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. Awesome. I think there's plenty more, Jack's done loads of videos about this. Do check them out online. Check out the Shure Audio Institute. It's really worthwhile. It's free to do. You get a little certificate at the end. Helps you understand the system a bit more, what you're playing with, how you're doing it. Makes you think a lot more and understand RF and be like, actually, why am I plugging that in there? And how's this working? And okay, let me think more about my antenna. Like, I know it's great to have from the history of like point and shoot systems like PSM 1000. It was so simple, but it's next gen. It's the future. We've had really great results.
In-person training.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
We host loads of in-person training at our office in London. We also host loads here with Patchwork.
Do it here at Patchwork.
If you're an international viewer, get in touch with your local Shure representative. We do run a standardized training all around the world, and we've got lots to talk about in terms of RF, IEMs, AD-PSM, wireless workbench, whatever it is that you want to know. We will have a training for it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Jack.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks again. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.